Today I want to talk about one of the snags of fishing. There is something in photography called GAS, G-A-S, Gear Acquisition Syndrome. And in photography, it's the belief that if only you could buy that bit better lens, bit better camera, your photographs would be better or your video would be better. I make fishing videos. You could spend enormous amounts of money on video equipment, from cameras, microphones, sound recorders. You can have cinema type cameras with fantastic lenses, cinema lenses. There is no limit. This has been filmed on a digital SLR, a few years old, in HD. It's okay. It's good enough quality for YouTube. And fishing is the same. Most of us, I started fishing 60 years ago, but really started to get keen about 1968, 69. Wasn't very old. It's about 11 and 12 then, and had minimal tackle, a little Woolworth spinning rod, initially a tiny brass fly reel, and then the cheapest Daiwa fixable reel, which back then was over £1, which was a fair bit of money for what was a very cheap and nasty reel, but it worked. And the cheapest fishing line, which was Hairlon. I think my dad bought me hooks to nylon. He'd buy sort of one or two at a time. A hand-me-down float, little porcupine quill with a little body. A few little tinner split shot. But when I got older, you get more money, and once you start working, you start to think, I'll save up for a better rod. But the rod choices in, say, the early 70s, we're talking fiberglass. There weren't that many good match rods by the time I was working at sort of 17. The Abu Mark 6 was the rod that I bought then. They were just under £21, which, considering I started work on £17 a week, was quite a lot of money. And that was sort of state of the art. If we fast forward over 50 years now, there are rods and reels galore. There are carbon match rods that are £50. There are ones that are 500. There are poles that go from not very much to thousands. There are boxes that cost over £1,000. And reels can cost anything from a tenner to several £100s. You can get stuff that's built for fishing for bonefish. It can become a sort of arms race. A lot of open matches now are fairly small. There are bigger ones, but a lot of them are 20 and 30 pegs. And the people who fish them are very keen and very serious. But when you look at the gear, you think, is it the gear? They've got the best there is, but the gear becomes marginal in the difference. I pleasure fish nowadays. It'd be nice to catch some fish at the moment. In the heat, I'm struggling on the rivers. Need to get back on the still waters, I think. And I've been using different old rods each time. And I've used my Bruce and Walker John Dean. Didn't catch much with that. But as a rod, although it's 44 years old, it's light enough you could fish with it all day. It bends the right way. You can strike fish, play fish, swing fish in, control the float. It's good. I can then go on to a much more recent rod. I won't catch any more fish. It will be a little bit lighter, an ounce or so lighter. The rings will be more up to date. Instead of hard chromes, there'll be Fujis on it, and the line will run through those a bit more smoothly. Having that better gear won't improve what you catch very much. What does make a difference are the floats, the shotting, the hooks, the feeding, the knowing where, how and when, which line you fish on the water, whether the fish want a little bait, a big bait, feeding with ground bait, without ground bait, just loose feeding, up in the water, deep down, and being in the right place. And that's the same with photography. I can't take a picture now of a kingfisher. I'm sat in a room. If I want a really good shot of a kingfisher, I would need some good camera gear, but it's going to come down to being in the right place, spending the time understanding how I can get close to a kingfisher to get a really good shot, which might take a lot of patience, a lot of time. And the same with the fish. There is a sort of a tackle trap, I think. If you read the angling press, what's left of it is often, this is the latest rod, use this. Is it any better than what's come before? Not necessarily. There's not a lot of big advances in making fishing rods over the last 30 years. In fact, some of the best rods made were over 20 years ago, things like the Carbatech match rods, which were fantastic quality. And I can remember seeing a pole that was made up, possibly by Milo, in about 1994. Steve Gardner, I think, was demonstrating it, and it was 17 meters, and you could stick it under your elbow, 17 meters, hold it with one hand. It was absolutely phenomenal. There were a couple of snags. They only made one. It was 17 meters, and the cost of making it was something like £8,000. That's not the retail price. That's not the price you would have paid. That's what it cost. And no one was going to make a rod costing that was going to be £15,000 RRP. It was, like I say, fantastic. But even when you look at pole, there's still people fishing long poles, 14 and 15, 16 meters. But an awful lot of match fishing now is what they call 2+2, fishing relatively short. So as long as the pole is strong enough to take quite strong elastic, often 20 gauge or above, to land carp quickly, it doesn't matter if it weighs a bit more. It's very different to hold 4 or 5 meters of pole. It doesn't have to be that light. It has to be very strong. To hold 14 meters of pole, the balance has got to be right. The action has got to be stiff, so it's not flopping around, and it's got to be strong and balanced, and that costs a lot of money. A pole that you're fishing at 2+2 doesn't have to cost a lot of money. So you can see there that technology can almost outgrow itself in fishing. And it's the same in photography. You can spend £20,000 on one of those hyper lenses you'll see at football matches, where you can pick out the nose hairs of the manager on the other side of the pitch. Fantastic if you're doing bird watching, but probably for a landscape, it's not going to be much good, where you want, say, a wide angle lens that costs an awful lot less than £20,000. Just a quick video this week. I've run a little bit of me fishing away, not very successfully, with different rods that, like I say, go anything from just a few years old to a couple of years old to 40 odd years old. Think about the gear you use and whether it's the gear you need or the practice and getting the best out of what you've already got. Until next time, it's goodbye for now.